Good morning, Christoph.
Good morning, Carsten.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to this Tech Talk. Welcome to the topic of cybersecurity part 3. Now it's part 3, Christoph, already.
Yes, it's part 3. It's our last part from the series. We will have other interesting tech talks in the next month, going also more in detail on our firewalls, but you will get this news soon.
Super, great. So we will talk also about next Tech Talk, but now we're talking about this Tech Talk. So yes. We talk about cybersecurity, and I know that we want to talk about security, the latest firmware that we have, ZLD 5.30,
yep,
correct?
530.
Yeah, 530, sorry, we can do that. So before we start and jump into the topic, I would like to invite you, everyone, to, if you have questions, you can ask these questions in the question window.
Yeah, we will try to answer them immediately.
Yes.
If we cannot, for any reason, answer them, we will follow up this either in the next Tech Talk or I will come back to you later.
And one question we answered even before the Tech Talk started, so this is fun.
Really?
This is great, yeah. So, and yeah, let's, for the ones that might miss this Tech Talk, or you want to see it again, or you want to play it and pause it and do something in the configuration that you have yourself, then please go to academy.zyxel.eu. There you can find it. We also have a slide for that.
Exactly. So let's go to the screen share.
Correct. Let's go for the screen share and let's go for the agenda first.
There were some requests in the questions that our sound quality is not as expected. So maybe question to the round if everyone can hear and see us well. If it's too loud or too quiet, so maybe you check your mic.
It says on, and
you can move this one to the right, and it's
better. Okay, maybe it's better now. So some feedback from the audience, if you can still hear me. Okay, it's better, they say. Okay.
Perfect, then problem solved. I think we can
go into the agenda now.
Yep, so screen is shared. So
super, let's go and see. So we will have an introduction to the topic, of course, yes, and we will talk about the new features, DOH, DOT, which the development, I think, of security makes it necessary that we implement these features.
Yeah. So the more TLS 1.3, that's the latest version, is used, the more we have problems detecting what customers are or what clients are searching for. And in our content filter, it makes sense to make use of that function together with the Dns Content Filter to detect the traffic.
So we want to show how you can react in your firewall installation or configuration to ensure that company network, for example, is also secured going forward with TLS 1.3.
Yep.
And then we have also 2 labs on premise and Nebula to show you the differences. Yep. And I think you can see it a bit behind us. This is our lab. This time you brought it here, Christoph.
Yep. This time it's here. It's the same lab like we had in the last 2 tech talks. So now it's here, visible in your background. We have one on-premise lab on top and kind of the same devices for Nebula below. And we will directly show the configuration on these devices. And
perfect.
Yes.
Right. So then let's jump into it. Before we start, what I mentioned earlier is the Campus Academy. We always try to share the content we have. The Campus Academy, there you can find all the tech talks. We have recorded now, what was it, 15
to 20. Wow. We're doing it for almost 2 years now, I think. So
actually, yeah, it's quite amazing. So it's a long time and a lot of content that you can see there. So you go to academy.zyxel.eu, you can find all tech talks there. But you can also educate yourself, yeah? You can do free trainings, you can find paid trainings there, you can get a certificate there for the various technologies we have. So please go there, look around, and if you have questions, you can always reach out to us, of course. You can also suggest topics there that you would like to talk about here.
There's a contact form if you're interested in anything specific or anything that we might have missed in the past, so feel free to raise your question there, and we will check if we can integrate that in our upcoming Tech Talk.
Definitely. So, and how do you get there? We also have an SSO implemented. So, I guess as a partner of Zyxel, you know the partner portal, You know, the support portal, I guess that's the most important portal that we have here, and the Campus Academy, and all these three portals and pages and accesses you can get via one account, one email address, one account, that's it.
Yep,
so
and
it's so easy.
Maybe one additional comment to support portal. So everything that I'm showing now on the devices is also available as an article in our portal. We have over 1,000 articles at the moment describing our configurations and possible scenarios. We also have our virtual lab where you as a customer can connect to our devices and see some basic configurations. So
we're doing all that to push information out to you so that you can work better with our devices.
Exactly.
But now, let's talk about
let's start with the topic. So 5.30, we have introduced DOH and DOT blocking. So maybe a small introduction what these two functions are.
Please.
It is something that is currently implemented in more and more end devices have it, like Android phones or iPhones. They are natively trying to resolve IP addresses from DNS encrypted. So, for example, the iPhone user wants to open a website. The iPhone needs the IP address for it. That's why he requests an external DNS server, for example, and this request started to be encrypted by DOH and DOT.
And this means for us, we can't see it anymore. We can't protect the network, and we need to do something.
I will show the difference between the classic DNS and the new, let's say, new DNS on one of the next slides, but maybe two comments about DOH and DOT. So DOH, DNS over HTTPS, it's just using the SSL port 443 and is querying it via HTTP or HTTP2. DOT is similar, but a bit different. It's using a different port and encrypts it via TLS over UDP stream.
Correct.
So both cannot be read by our devices. Yes and no. So we have SSL inspections, but most of you customers might already know that the configuration is quite, the efforts are quite complex. Yes. So you need to roll out certificates on your end clients. You need to deploy that. And we are in times of BYOD, so bring your own device. So employees are allowed to bring their smartphones, bring their own laptops, connect to the company. And of course, as an admin, it's hard to deploy such configurations.
You know, with this implementation, it's much easier. We need this implementation basically to ensure the transparency, what is happening in our network. And yeah, let's show it. Let's see how it works. Yeah.
So maybe quick recap to the classic DNS procedure. So on the left side, we have the DNS client. It wants to reach xyz.test.com with IP 1.2.3.4. So the normal process would be that the DNS client queries the DNS server, unencrypted. The DNS server returns the IP address of that server, so the client can start establishing the connection. So this is not encrypted, so everyone who is within the same broadcast domain or can read the packets can also see the requests. That's also how our firewall did it before with the DNS Content Filter, just checked the DNS packets and intercepted that.
So we could say that is the old world, yeah. So it was where our firewall was shining and everything.
This is kind of the old world and also where we want to go back to.
Exactly. Yeah. That is a situation we want to establish also in a more advanced and encrypted technology implementation.
Right. So if we now check the next slide where we have the DOH or DOT query procedure, we can see that the DNS client still has kind of the same procedure. So it wants to reach xyz.test.com. It needs to gather its IP address to establish the connection, but it's sending its DNS request encrypted. So let's assume that this orange client here is any client or our firewall. It cannot read what the client is doing. It cannot detect if it's a DNS query or not, and it cannot detect what's inside that query.
So what does it mean for me as an administrator that is responsible for security of the network?
So this is a good question, and I can explain it with this slide. So for example, if the client uses DOT or DOH, it can access forbidden sites without that the firewall detects it.
Without me knowing anything.
Yes, exactly. Even though we have the content filter or DNS content filter enabled, the firewall cannot know what site is being reached. So yeah, once the IP address is not detected, the user can access the threat website successfully.
And we cannot do much about it. Yeah, so it's just happening. That's the technology we have implemented. And okay, so the question is, how do I get to know what the customer is really doing, what the client is doing, and what is the implementation cycle?
The solution is quite easy. We're just blocking DOT and DOH. So full stop.
Yes, yes, yes.
When we do that, the client mostly, yeah, I didn't see any other example, but nearly all clients are falling back to the classic DNS. So we are dropping the DNS query packet, the encrypted one.
So there is an encryption possible, but if that is not possible and we are blocking it, it's pushed back into the fallback situation, where it's not encrypted anymore, and then we can read it.
Exactly. The client in the end falls back to the classic DNS, does his query about over port 53, plain DNS, and we can detect that.
Good.
We're doing this with help of the URL threat filter option, and we are also using our URL threat filter database for it to know the external DNS servers that allow the encrypted DNS queries. We're just blocking that. On port 443 and for DOT 853.
Good.
So that's it for the new feature on 5.30. So it's basically just one checkbox. Previously, it was also partially possible. Some customers might be aware of the quick protocol. We have this also in some of our article where we already had problems in the past with detecting Google pages like YouTube or Google and blocking content from there. There we advise the customer to block 443 incoming from UDP streams, and this was kind of the workaround. Now integrated into the URL threat filter, this is a bit better for the admin and helps us a bit more in the end.
Correct. So we will show it how it works a bit more, how you configure it in a moment.
We'll also explain why it makes sense to have this enabled together with the DNS Content Filter.
Correct.
We will explain the difference compared to the classic web content filter and how they can work together and when which technology is used.
Yeah, so we will talk about the web content filter, the DNS content filter, and we will show the differences and how to enable and what is coming first and second. So good.
So web content filter is something that has nearly always been there. So, but with introduction of TLS 1.3 and more websites using it, we kind of reached the limits of our possibilities here. So we cannot really detect anymore the server name. Previously, we could read in the TLS handshake until TLS 1.2, we could read the server hello. So me as a client sends, hey, I'm client A, I want to reach you, and server answers with, hey, I'm server XYZ, and here's my certificate, and so on. So we could read that packet and could determine the server name and compare it with our database. With TLS 1.3, this is not possible anymore because the server's reply is kind of encrypted already. We cannot open the certificate, and this stops us from detecting the content that the client wants to access.
Correct. So it's about encryption. And how many pages, let's say, are using 1.3 already, TLS? Do we know that?
We will explain this on the next slide. Let me quickly introduce the DNS Content Filter, which already works before the client tries to establish the connection to the server. That means to reach the server, the client needs to know the IP address from that server, and to know this, it does this DNS query. We are checking on our devices a DNS query and are comparing the server address with our content filter database. Then we can already block this client's traffic before the client tries to
firewall, before the traffic goes out, really.
Before the traffic goes out and before the client tries to connect to the server.
Yeah, makes a lot of sense. So from a sequence point of view, we first have the DNS content filter and then the web content filter.
Exactly. Both can also be used simultaneously. In on-premise devices, they both need to configure it separately. In Nebula, it's just a checkbox, but I will show this in the lab later.
Good, perfect.
So coming back to your previous question, so there's a graph here that shows the current usage of the for the top 1 million web servers and what encryption protocol they're using. And we can see that there is an increase in TLS 1.3. It's a dark blue area here, and from August 2019 to August 2021, there was already an increase of 20%, and it's more and more.
So
I don't have the numbers
for 50% already.
Yeah, exactly. I don't have the numbers for 2022, but this is already a good indicator that more and more web servers are using that encryption. And
so obviously we have to do something.
Yes.
We have to invent something, and now we have the solution to this.
Exactly. So again, explanation of how the DNS content filter works. I mostly explained it in one of the last slides. So on the right side, we have our clients, and these clients want to reach some gaming pages. And the client sends a DNS query to the firewall. The firewall detects that DNS query. It compares it with its local or external database, and will then either redirect to the block page or let the traffic pass.
Is it possible that I can decide where do I direct the customer? That is it always a block page?
Yeah, we have multiple options. So we can redirect the customer to a block page where then the customer sees, hey, the site is blocked, please get in contact with your administrator. And we have the possibility to just redirect the client to google.com or any other page.
As an administrator, can I get a warning, an email notification or something like that?
Yes, at the end of this presentation, I will show some details in SecuReporter. This is, in my opinion, the best platform where you can then detect your network activities, and you can also then check what are the top 5 blocked web pages or applications.
Very good.
So I will also show this later. It's about the special configuration on the DNS content filter. And unlike the web content filter, you need to assign the DNS content filter profile to the inbound and outbound security policies.
So maybe we explain inbound. Inbound means how we see it is from the client to the firewall.
Yes, that's what inbound means in this example here. So with a classic web content filter, we just need to assign our content filter profile to our outbound rule that we detect for our clients. Okay, what are they trying to access? The outbound rule.
And the outbound rule is from the firewall to the internet.
From the client to the internet.
Client to the internet.
And with the DNS content filter, since we need to check the DNS, we need to check the traffic from the client to the DNS server. In this case, our firewall.
Correct. Perfect. So we will go into that detail, absolutely, when we do the labs.
Yep.
And here, talking about the labs, here our next slide is already the labs. Again, if you have any questions, please raise them in our question field on this online session. We are happy to answer them and take them from there. So, yes. But let's jump into the on-premise situation, and you explain what we have done as a setup.
We will do a basic content filter setup. We again have our standard lab. We have the ATP, the switch, and an access point. Assuming there are multiple clients connected to that access point that will reach the internet, we will try to block the business based on the business productivity content filter, set up some web pages. It's really the default setup that we are going through. Of course, this can be configured as granular as you want, and of course also to your company needs.
Correct. And we can say that this business productivity content filter is a profile that's predefined.
Yes.
So we're trying to help you also in the configuration there. Although, if you want to select additional categories that you would like to prevent customers to go to, then you can do that. We will show that also in a moment.
So let's move into the configuration.
So that's the ATP 200, which we have here. This on-premise device we are accessing now via the GUI, of course.
So most of the customers might already know how we move on here. So the first thing we will check now is the licensing. So content filter needs to be licensed. So the
question is, what kind of licenses do I need if I have an ATP or UHG flags or all these kind?
So we go to configuration, licensing, registration, service, and we see that we have the web filtering license. Since this is an ATP 200, it is included in the UTM Gold Pack. That's also the only license you can really get for the ATPs. For the UHG flags, it's included in the UTM Security Pack. Content filtering is also possible on our VPN devices, where you can purchase it as a single license. And parts of the content filter are also available in our legacy USG devices, also as a single license.
Okay, so
now they are EOL soon, so we will focus on the new devices, ATP, USG flags, and VPN.
Correct. So now we have the ATP with the Gold Pack that includes everything.
Yes.
Okay.
As you can see, we have nearly everything activated, and this is also everything that is included in our.
So we see already there, we have the secret reporter mentioned, the UTM licenses, and all the things that we need. Perfect.
Good. So let's start with the new feature of 530. We go to the block of DOH and DOT. Since this is included in the reputation filter, we go to configuration, security service, reputation filter. We go to the tab DNS threat filter, and we can see that here we have a new option, action when detecting DNS over HTTPS or TLS packets.
Correct.
Standard configuration is passed, so we're not blocking anything automatically when you apply a new update. So you as an administrator can decide if you want to make use of that or not, because it can have some side effects. For example, if you have clients that don't have the fallback, you will block their internet access.
But we haven't seen that yet in the market.
Not yet.
No, there's always a fallback.
But there might be some special configurations or requirements, so you are still free to activate it or not. We have the option here to drop or pass the packets. Pass will just allow it. Drop will just drop the packet without answering the client that it was dropped. That would be a reject.
And then you have a log there, checkbox. That is when we talk about secure reporter or log files in addition.
No, this is not. This is just the internal log in monitoring log. So if we go to monitor log, we could see it here if a DNS filter packet was blocked or not. We even see that our config has been changed. So if we activate it, we can see it here if we filter for DNS filter.
Perfect.
Okay, let's go back to the setting. So it's again security service, reputation filter, DNS threat filter. The reason why it is here is because we are using the URL threat filter database to detect the external DNS servers.
Of course.
So let's activate it. Let's enable the logging. It's important as always. Please click on apply.
Yeah, otherwise it won't work. Yeah, we did it earlier. We configured it and it was gone already. So.
In Nebula, you get at least notified that something hasn't been saved. And on-premise devices not, and it's even worse on the switches where you need to click on apply and save. Otherwise, customers are wondering why their config is lost after they've rebooted the switch.
So here it's just apply, and then it's
we cannot
saved.
repeat it more often. This is
yeah, it's very important. We sometimes get questions. This, of course.
Yes. Okay, let's move on to the content filter. So we have shown the.
So we have now activated it as such. So whenever there is a request TLS 1.3, we push it out of the security of the encrypted tunnel and into a fallback situation. But now we need to define, of course, the profiles that we want to apply.
So let's move to our content filter. It's also in the security service section under content filter, and we have now I think it's a common interface for most of the customers that we have the web content filter here. We have options at the top to activate it first, but we need to consider two things. We need to activate it and we need to assign it to a security policy, but I will show this. So let's activate it. Let's activate the one page. Then we have a third option, drop connection when HTTPS connection with SSL 3 or previous version. That means if the firewall detects that you are accessing a site that doesn't have an encryption greater than SSL version 3 or TLS 1.0, then it will be dropped.
Correct.
Can be problematic with some Amazon Echo devices. We had some troubles there. Some of them are still using for some of their communication old SSL encryption. This could cause some problems.
Yeah. So we leave it out there for the moment, and now we look into the profiles.
Yes, there are two default profiles. You can also delete them, but to get them back, you need to apply the default configuration again. So be careful. We have the business productivity protection profile and the children's internet protection profile. Let's just double click the business productivity protection profile. We can now see here in the pop-up that we have the option to log everything. We can decide what happens if it was detected or not. We can decide what happens with unrated web pages. I will also explain this a bit later.
So we have the warning possibility, the pass, and the block possibility. Warning means the customer gets a warning message that this content...
For unrated web pages. I cannot click on warn for managed web pages. It means everything that falls in my category gets blocked or passed. There's nothing in between.
Absolutely. And for unknown web pages, so to say, I can still give a warning so we don't know what's happening. Please watch out.
Yes. So we have our managed categories here, and this is a pre-selected business productivity profile where we are blocking something like what do we have? Pornography, illegal software, criminal activities, and so on.
Gaming, whatever.
Gaming, gambling, you're right. If we scroll a bit more down, we can also test URLs. So everything where we think it should be blocked or it shouldn't be blocked, we can test here as an administrator.
Yeah, so there you can make sure that if you want to make sure that a certain page is really still accessible after applying this, you can check it there before, or vice versa if you want to make sure.
Now with the example casino.org, we see that either both the content filter and the HTTPS domain filter are detecting it. The URL thread filter points okay.
Yeah.
Because it's no thread.
Yeah, correct.
If we think that the category is wrong, or if you find an unrated page,
or you want to add the page, for example,
you can click on this link here. You will be forwarded to a page from our external provider, which is McAfee. And from here you can raise a ticket or raise a request. You can check the URL and tell them that this is in the wrong category.
I think I like this very much because that gives me the possibility also to influence that and to really react on the latest development, really, what's happening on the web, and new services are added. So,
as the description says, it takes up to 3 to 5 business days until someone reviews it, because there are humans that are reviewing it. It's no automated process, and in the end, it either gets approved or rejected.
Correct. So,
but you don't need to wait that long. So we have workaround possibilities here.
True.
We have the custom service, the black and white list. So we can decide if we, for example, put all our internal company pages to a whitelist, for example.
How do I do that?
Yes, we have the trusted web pages here, where we can add web pages like www.com. Or we add something like **Zyxel.com.
So I can use wildcards as well.
Yes, you can use wildcards as well. You don't need to enter every subdomain. And for example, if you have any business applications that might fall under the content filter, you can put them to the trusted web pages. Or if you have something that should be blocked, you can put them to the forbidden web pages.
That was the trusted, and then the forbidden, and then the blocked. Yes.
We also have the option to block URL keywords. So if you put something like gaming there, it will check the URL and immediately block it. Sorry, let me.
Good. So that's the configuration. Now we need to apply it to the traffic as such.
Exactly. So, okay, my voice is gone. I hope you can still hear me. Oh, 1 second. We will cut this out from the recording.
So we will see configuration. Better now? Yeah.
I also hope it's better now. Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear you again.
I can hear myself also again. So we have set up our business productivity profile, and we click on OK. And there's a pop-up that this profile has been saved, but it asks us also to assign this to a security policy. If we now click on yes, we will get a pop-up where we need to assign this to a security policy. Since this is outgoing traffic that we want to block, so from the client to the internet, we need to select it for the outbound rule. So we can apply to multiple or just to a single, or only to a guest profile, so whatever is needed.
I think it's quite nice that you are also prompted to it, that you don't forget to apply the rule that you have. Yes. Then you press OK.
We can now see it that is referenced 1. We can click from here and we see that this is assigned to this security policy. We can also check it the other way around.
On the overview of the traffic profiles, you can see it there. You have LAN 1 outgoing, and on the right side now you have the filter there. The profile, it does tell you immediately that you have this opportunity to see that it's configured. Perfect. That's a good overview, I think, that you know where you have applied what. So that's good.
Exactly. And we can also click on that and do it the other way around. That we see the profiles that are assigned to that policy here. So we have the business productivity profile here assigned to our policy 6.
Correct. And that was all about the web content filter. I think now let's talk about the DNS content filter, obviously. So we have a profile, business profile, business productivity. Now we need to apply it as well to the DNS content filter. What can we do there?
So here it's just a second tab in the content filter menu. We see a different, similar page like profile management. We have it here and we have the same here. And if we click on it, we can also see the same categories.
Genau. And there we have the possibility there at the top, you see it already. Of course, the name, you can give a name. And then you can select and basically clone the profile that you have created already earlier in the web content filter to the DNS content filter.
Yep.
If you click on this one, there you have the selection then for the business productivity or children protection. So both is possible. You just select it and then you say clone.
Except I don't need to do the same configuration again. I can just select my already created web content filter profile, click on clone. I can see my selection here.
And in the end, it's about the selection. So the selection will be taken over. If I want to do any changes or so, I can still do. That is no problem at all.
Exactly. So let's save it again. We get the same pop-up, but it's a bit different.
Again, we have to apply to rule, yeah, for traffic, sure.
So if we click now on yes, it's a bit, it's the same, but a bit different. So we again need to select our outgoing rule because we want to filter the outgoing traffic. But we are also filtering the LAN to device traffic. That means the DNS query. That means we need to also select the LAN 1 to device rule.
That's the device that is going to the firewall. And we need to make sure that this is also protected. So that's why we are selecting it there.
Exactly.
That was the ingoing and outgoing traffic we explained earlier. Perfect. So now we apply it and let's see the overview again. Of course, I like that a lot. There you know what you're doing. So you have that interface now where you can see the DNS content filter, the web content filter, and you have the LAN to device where you did apply the DNS content filter.
Exactly.
Wow. Do I need to press apply here again?
No, we haven't changed anything here.
Okay.
It's automatically saved. We don't need to apply here again.
Super.
We can remove it from here again or changes here. Then we need to click on apply, but we don't need to do any changes here.
Good. Well, it gives you a very good overview.
Okay.
So now we have done the web content filter, the configuration. We have done the DNS content filter configuration. We did apply to the traffic in and out.
Yep.
So what's missing?
Nothing.
That's it. Perfect. So we can see log files. If you go to SQL report a bit later, once we have shared the Nebula Labs. So that concludes the on-premise demo. If you have any questions, please let us know. Then we are happy to show you again. I hope you're feeling better again.
Yeah, it's better.
Sorry for that.
It's our second tech talk already in a row, and talking for 2 hours in a row, it's quite difficult for my voice, but it's okay. So
okay, perfect. So now we are changing over to Nebula situation. Again, as we have explained earlier, we have the same firewall, we have the same switch, the same access port, but now everything in Nebula. And this makes it a bit more, let's say, intuitive, ease of use. You have the interface already here, and we want to show you how it works.
Yep.
In general, we can say, if you haven't tried Nebula so far, we can definitely recommend it. It's a very nice environment that you can maintain very well. So from remote, you can see all the devices, you can configure everything. So that is really nice and perfect. There are some limitations, especially when it comes to firewall. We don't have that many features implemented yet, we have to say, in Nebula, but it also gives an added value because it's more easy to configure.
More easy, especially when it comes to managing more customers.
Correct.
Then it's easier for you.
So let's jump into Nebula. How do I do it there? Of course, we start with checking the licenses.
Okay. Yep. We since licenses are organization-wide, the content filter requires a ProPack. That means we go to our organization, we check the license inventory here, and we make sure that we are in ProPack and that our ATP or USG flags has the gold security pack or the UTM security pack.
What do I do if I have an organization with such setup and I don't have the needed licenses?
We can easily purchase it directly from here. So if we go back to the overview and click on purchase licenses, there's a license configurator where you just say for how long you want to have which license. And it will just throw out a list of licenses that you need, and you can also purchase them directly via the marketplace or from Circle if you're a Circle member.
Correct. So we can definitely say that that shouldn't be the hinderer, so to say, the licenses, and we did see already that you need a professional pack.
Exactly. So yeah,
good.
Coming back to that summarized, we need to have the organization in ProPack, and we need to have the UTM license.
So once again, also there to mention that if you have multiple devices in an organization, every device has to have the ProPack.
Exactly.
Except if you have an ATP, it has a Gold pack already. So then you make sure
then it's included. And if you only have the ATP, then it's automatically in Pro because it's included in the UTM.
Correct. So of course, we can recommend to have all the devices that you're using in an organization into Nebula or at a site in Nebula. Because of maintenance, it's much more easier to have the maintenance accordingly.
Exactly.
Good.
So let's go to the configuration of the content filter. So Nebula, we have two options to configure the content filter. One is the organization-wide security profile. If I click on organization-wide security profile sync, I have the option to define a profile that I can then apply to all of my sites from here.
Okay. If I have multiple sites, I can also apply to only a few sites or only one site.
Yes. So the default tag here is all sites. And if I go here, I have a drop-down menu. Currently, I just have one site in my organization. But if I would have more, I can just select them here and they will be added.
Why would I select, if I have, let's say, 3 sites, why would I select different profiles for different sites?
Could be if you have one demo site or one site where you do your testing. Might make sense to exclude.
So it could be also different user profiles, different kind of people are working in different locations.
For example, if I have multiple branch offices and for some this should be the same and for some it should be different, then
so you have all
flexible
the
with
possibilities.
using that. Yep.
That's quite nice, yeah.
So we have this option, and it's basically the same menu that we will see later in the per device configuration. So I will not go into detail here. I will explain it from the firewall configuration. If we go to firewall, configure security service, I can see that I also have the content filter option here. And I again here have the option to block SSL version 3 or earlier. I can define a custom message what the client or customers will see when their page gets blocked. Redirect URL would be like google.com, some normal allowed page that is where the customer will be redirected. And if I click now here on add and expand this category list here, I will see a common picture. I will again have an overview of all my categories here. I have a block list and an allow list. I can decide what to do with unrated pages or when the service is unavailable. And I have 2 configurations templates, one for productivity, one for parental control, that I, of course, can change if I want, and it's switching to custom automatically. And I need to give this profile a name. I can give it a description. And that's basically it. The cool thing here, we have DNS content filtering integrated here. It's just a switch. if we want to have it enabled or not.
Yeah, that's a big difference to on-premise and cloud. So on-premise, we still had to do the web content filter configuration, then afterwards had to do the DNS content filter configuration. Although I would say we could copy in or clone a profile from there. Yep. Here it's just a tick box basically for the DNS content filter as well. And then we are applying the same profiles.
Yeah, so let's apply this profile. And
you already know it's two profiles that Zyxel is kind of offering default ones, which I can customize anytime, and then it jumps into. Can I have multiple?
Yes, we can also add a different profile in the end. Create a second one, so we have two profiles now, and same as on premise, they need to be assigned to a firewall policy. So if we go to firewall security policy, I've not saved it, but it doesn't matter. So if we go here, we need to create a rule where we then in the end assign the profile.
Okay, so that's the same as we had earlier in the on-premise situation.
Yes, so the only thing that is different here I don't get a specific pop-up as a customer. Like on the on-premise device, I need to consider this and need to remember that this needs to be changed. So last part would be the monitoring part. Where can I see what has been blocked?
So now we have filtered a lot, and I still want to see, okay, what are my employees doing? As an IT administrator, I'm asked, okay, where are the people going? What is the problem? Do we have any problems at all? Yeah, that's a good question. We have the secret reporter. For the ones that haven't seen our TECHtalk around the secret reporter, please go to academy.zyxel.com.eu. There you can also see the recording for the secret reporter where we explain it a bit more in detail.
Exactly. So let's sign in here. Unfortunately, let's check if we have some demo data. There was no client connected recently. So let's go to our TECHtalk organization in Security Reporter, which is basically our Nebula organization. And if I go to Analysis, Network Activity, I see three tabs here, one for DNS Content Filter, one for Web Content Filter, and one for App Patrol. This is something we might explain in later TECHtalk.
Yeah.
I can see the top accessed domain, the top block domains, and depending on my security setup in Security Reporter, if I want to have it anonymized, semi-anonymized, or full anonymized, I even can track it back to a single user.
Mm-hmm. Okay, there I would see then what's happening, which pages are visited, which pages are blocked, and so on.
Yes, there will be a list here that can be then filtered by website or website type. I see the amount of hits, and it will be visible in Security Reporter then.
Yeah, super. So there is where I can manage. I could then get back to the individual persons if I want, if I need to, and tell them, okay, please don't go to this page, and accordingly. Mm-hmm. Good.
So we are at the end of the configuration.
Great.
Again, if you have any questions that I could answer now, feel free to raise them in the chat.
Absolutely. Just to highlight again, so the TECHtalks, if you haven't been visiting them too often, it's always happening at the last Wednesday of each month. Next time will be June, then we have a short summer break, and then we continue in September. And as we mentioned already, in September we will start with the basic configuration of firewall.
Yeah, we will start with what is an object-based firewall, how does it work on our devices, what is an object, how can I assign an object to a security policy. We will really start from zero.
Yes, and really guide you through all the things that you need to consider when we talk about a firewall. Right, and our famous category, questions asked. We had a question last time. What VPN options do I have in Nebula?
Yep, this question was asked in the last TECHtalk, and I have prepared a bit and to explain a bit more detailed what we have in Nebula at the moment in regards to VPN. So we have the classic site-to-site IPsec VPN between sites, between a site and a non-Nebula site. We have the Nebula site-to-site with just one click, where I can just select in my Nebula site which other site I want to establish a VPN connection. And we have the Nebula Smart Vpn, which is kind of parts from the SD-WAN that we also have, and where you can have a hub and spoke or full mesh environment. I will quickly show a demo here.
I think this smart VPN is quite cool.
Yeah. So we have the options here to, if we have multiple sites, to establish a full mesh where every firewall has an established VPN connection to every other firewall, and we have the hub and spoke environment where we have the hub in the middle and the spokes around it, and the hub kind of manages the traffic from all the other devices.
Yeah, I can definitely recommend to check this out, Smart VPN feature.
Yep, this is an org-wide setting, so organization-wide configure VPN orchestrator. You also have a nice map, and you can then separate who is able to talk with who. So
perfect. Right. Yeah. So that was about this tech talk. Next tech talk, we talk about the Wi-Fi 6E standard.
Triple band access points, Wi-Fi 6E, the new standard. So we will get some performance boost on our new access points, sending in the 6 gigahertz band.
And we are talking about 6.4 software.
Yeah, we will also have a new release firmware then with some new features. So
yeah, check it out. Come back and listen to what we are then presenting. Perfect. So we don't want to leave you alone. If you think that it's still too complicated and I still need some guidance, I would like to highlight that we have our value-added services, these configuration services. We have various configuration services that we're offering. What does it mean? It means that you can buy a voucher for these services, and then we can do, for example, firewall configuration jointly. We explain what we're doing. You can tell us what we need to do.
Yep.
And by that, you learn how it works. So that's our ambition, really, is to show how it works so that you can use it in your day-to-day installation and work environments. And this is just a possibility to give you insights into that.
Yes. So that's one interesting question. If the WAX 510 can manage Wi-Fi 6E, the answer is no. We will have new models around Wi-Fi 6E, and they will be launched in the next 2 months.
Yes, so we will show that during next tech talk, which models are supported, which aren't, and yes. Yeah, you can follow us on LinkedIn and YouTube. On YouTube, we are also sharing a lot of videos like this one, as well as we are doing unboxing videos, configuration videos, and whenever you have time to check it out, why not visiting? It's Zyxel Support Campus, and if you ring the bell there, you also get notified if you have something new, and we have colleagues that are very active on this one and very much passionate about pushing out the information to the customer.
You will also find the recording of today's tech talk in the late afternoon, as well in our Campus Academy.
Correct.
As well as all the previous tech talks that we had.
Correct. Yeah, it's definitely worth to check out, and there's also always the slides available that you can see.
Yes.
And go through. If you have any suggestions, again, we invite you to give feedback on academy@zyxel.eu to share with us your feedback, your wishes for topics, other things you would like to discuss. So with that, having said, Christoph, thank you very much for the preparation, for bringing the lab, for coming here. Thank you, all the audience, for joining us today, and see you next time. Thank you.
Next time. Bye.
We're Zyxel, and we're your networking ally.